nobody takes care of the sheep like a shepherd. When he said that, he knows that's what we're going to be basically looking at tonight, is the shepherd. So I want you to turn to the Gospel of John, chapter 10. While you're turning there, I want to give you a little introduction about chapter 10. Chapter 10 is a continuation of chapter 9. At the beginning of chapter 9, Jesus comes and finds a man that had been born blind. After talking to him, he made some spittle, put it on his eyes, told him to go to the pool and wash it, and he did, and he received his sight. And everybody around there knew that he'd been born blind, so when he was seeing, there was a lot of questions by his neighbors. And then this incident happened on the same day that the incident happened when he saved the lame man at the pool, where the angel came and stirred the waters on the Sabbath day. So when they questioned this man, after questioning him and talking to him, then they go and take him to the Pharisees. The Pharisees wasn't very happy because it was on the Sabbath day that he healed this man. So they questioned the man told him exactly what happened step by step. But it wasn't satisfied that he was actually the man that was born blind as a kid. So they go to his parents and ask him, his parents said, "Is this your son that was born blind?" And because the Pharisees had authority over the temple, they was afraid that if they answered and said the wrong thing, that they might be put out of the temple. So they just told him, said, "Well, you go ask him, because he's old enough to speak for himself and he'll tell you the truth." So they did, and they questioned him about it. And in verse 34, it says, "And they cast him out of the temple." Now, in today's society, if somebody come in and we say, "All right, you're doing this, so you're going to have to leave and not come back," it probably wouldn't be no big deal to them. But for the Jews to be eliminated and couldn't go back into the temple for the services, that was harsh punishment for them. So after he is told that he cast out, well, Jesus come to him and he witnessed to him, and Jesus just outright revealed to this man who he is and asked if he trusted him, and the man said yes. And there were some Pharisees there, so they questioned Jesus and talked to him. So in verse 10, chapter 1, Jesus goes on talking to the Pharisees here and said, "Very, very, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber." The sheepfold. The sheepfold in the first century, what we're talking about here, was a large enclosed area, and it was open to the sky, had a wall around it, made out of reeds, stone, or bricks, to prevent people from going in and trying to crawl over the wall, or even wolves or other animals to get into the sheepfold to either steal the sheep or to the wolves to take it and eat it. Some sheepfolds was large enough to hold about 1,000 sheep. And only a robber or a thief would try to climb over into the wall. So that's why he's saying here, anybody tried to climb over the wall was a thief and a robber. Now in verse 2, "But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep." Now at the gate, or the door of the sheepfold, there was a porter there, a gatekeeper. They had one there at all times, and the only one that he was authorized to open the door for was, and that enter in, was the shepherd of the sheep that was in the sheepfold. Now in verse 3, "To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out." When the shepherd was allowed to go into the gate, into the sheepfold, it said that he would call his sheep by name. Now, I'm not for sure, so I can't say for sure if there was just one name for all the sheep and they recognized the name or what, but he would call them by his name, the sheep by the name, and it said that he would lead them out. The sheep, when the shepherd called the sheep by their name, they recognize them. It is a well-known fact that animals can recognize the voice of a familiar, trusted person. If you think about some of the shows that we used to have on TV where they had animals, probably two of the most famous ones were in 10 and Lassie. They was trained to perform trick by just a voice or a gesture from the person who trained them. Now, sheep has excellent memories for faces too. I didn't know that until I looked up and found some information about sheep, but they have excellent memories for faces. And animals remember their handlers too. They also remember people who inflict abuse upon them. If you come in, if you see somebody and they have a pet and you go into a house for a visitation or something, their pet, kind of shies away over there or something like that, it's a very good indication that there may be some abuse to that pet. Now, as well as most animals, sheep is mentioned in the King James Version about 364 times. Abel was the first shepherd mentioned in Genesis chapter 4, verse 2. Other shepherds in the Old Testament is Abraham, Moses, and King David as a young boy. Sheep is mentioned 189 times in the Bible. Now, I told you before it was a different number. We're going to find out why I say this now. 148 times in the Old Testament. Now, in the Old Testament, when it meant sheep, it's usually because they use it as a sacrifice. In the New Testament, it's mentioned 41 times. And in the New Testament, when sheep is mentioned, it's usually a name that is given to the children of Israel. They were called sheep many times in the New Testament. Now here where the rest of the count come in. A lamb, as we know, as a young sheep, is mentioned 175 times, and that gives you a total of the 364 times. They are mentioned in 189 different verses in the Bible, throughout the Bible. Now, verse 4. And when he had put forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. When the shepherd takes his sheep out of the sheepfold, he leads them, and they follow him. Now, most animals, if they're in a group of some kind, has a leader. In the old Western days, when they had cattle drives, there was one steer that was the head was the leader of the rest of the cattle, and they followed that figure. A pack of wolves has a leader, and the rest of that pack follows that leader. Geese, when they fly in a V shape. The one in the front up there is the leader, and the rest of them follow that leader. The sheep follows the shepherd by his command because they know his voice. The true shepherd has a very unique relationship with his sheep. And verse 5, and a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from them, for they know not the voice of a stranger. Notice the reaction of the sheep to a stranger. Instead of following, they scatter in different directions. And the reason being they scatter is because they do not recognize the voice of a stranger. Now, verse 6. This parable Jesus spoke unto them, but they understood not what things they were, which he spake unto them. This is a parable. Now, being seasoned Christians and being in church for a while, we know what a parable is. A parable is a story with a comparison of two subjects for the purpose of teaching. Jesus spoke about 40 parables in his short ministry. Each one had a spiritual meaning, and many times people didn't understand the spiritual meaning. There was a time when he would speak a parable, and even his disciples did not understand the true meaning of the parable, but he would reveal it to them when they was away from the other people. Now, in this case, the Pharisees did not understand this meaning of the sheep and the shepherd. So starting in verse 7, Jesus is going to reveal the meaning of this parable to them. Verse 7, Then Jesus said unto them, Very verily I say unto you, I am the door of the sheep. Now notice how he starts off this parable. He starts the meaning here. He starts it off in the same way he did the parable. Truly, truly. Very, very, truly, truly. Now he goes on to say that he is the door of the sheep. The sheep is led through the gate in the sheepfold. Believers are God's sheep. Psalms 100, chapter 100, verse 3 says this, Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. We are the sheep of the Lord. And it said the pasture. We are the sheep of his pasture. Where is the pasture? This earth. This is our pasture. This is where we're supposed to go out and gather people and witness to them and try to get them in the church. Psalms 23:1, we should all know this one. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So first off, he reveals that he is the door, and we are his sheep. Now verse 8. And all that ever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. Jesus is not saying in this verse that Moses and some of the Old Testament prophecies were thieves and robbers. But what he is saying is referring to is the more recent time history here, meaning the religious leaders and the teachers that are in power at this time. Why would he call them thieves and robbers? Earlier in another chapter, when he healed a lame man, they seek to kill him. They had the power, and anybody that went against them could be severely punished for their going against the leaders. And verse 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal, to kill, and destroy. Now I'm going to stop there again because the thief he is referring to here now is the devil and his disciples. It says they come to steal. Satan used false teaching to turn people away from God. We can see that in the first sin in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 7, where he deceived Eve and convinced her to take a bite of that fruit of the tree of knowledge. And she found out it was good, she gave it to Adam. They come to kill. The first murder ever recorded is in Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. Cain killed his own brother because his own brother gave a more satisfactory sacrifice to God than he did. And he was jealous of it. So the first murder because of jealousy. Satan comes to destroy people's lives. He comes to deceive people, lead them away from God and into the lake of fire. So him and his disciples then come to do nothing but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Jesus says, I am come that they may have life. And the life he's talking about here is on this earth as well as eternal life. And he goes on to say that we may have it more abundantly. Abundantly just simply means fully, ample, or plentiful. He provides us with our daily needs. He may not give us our want, but he will give us our needs. He knows our needs, and most of the time knows that human beings know our wants. And there's two different things there. But he provides with our daily needs. Verse 11. I am the good shepherd. This time he says he's a good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. The true shepherd was willing to give his life for the sheep. They would have to fight off bears, wolves, lions, and other animals. The Bible teaches us that in David's young life, when he was a shepherd, that he fought off bears and lions to save off his sheep. Jesus willingly gave his life on the cross for all people. However, it is sad and unfortunate to say that all people will not accept his sacrifice. Now, next two verses I'm going to read together because they go hand in hand together. But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and fleeteth, and the wolf catches them and scatters the sheep. The hireling fleeteth because he is a hireling and cared not for the sheep. Jesus now compared the scribes and the religious leaders at this time as hard as the hireling people. They have no true love or concern for the welfare of the sheep. In the moment of danger, the hired man would run. He would run away to save his own life. In other words, he was not willing to give his own life for the sheep. Only one person done that, and that's Jesus Christ. Verse 14. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. Jesus says again, he is a good shepherd and he knows his sheep. Jesus truly knows who has truly accepted him as their Savior. And men, we know only what we see from the outside. Now, we can see evidence of people in people's lives that lead us to truly believe that they are saved. But in all actuality, we do not really know for sure who is saved and who's not. Only Jesus knows that. And those who are truly saved knows Him. And they knows Him, Jesus, as their Savior. Yeah, I had a pastor one time tell us this. When we get to heaven, we're going to be surprised who we see in heaven. Because we can see people living their life the way they're living outside of the church, and we may never think that we believe that they were saved, but at some point in their life they were truly saved. Now we may see their life the way they're living, it does not reflect it, but that don't mean that they're really not. Any of those on the saved, we're also going to be surprised who we think we might see there that we actually don't. You look in the churches around today in the United States, there are people that may be pastoring a church that is not truly saved. Sunday school teacher who may not truly be saved. So we're going to be surprised who we see and who we may not see. Verse 15. As the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. As the Father knows His Son, even so the Son knows His Father. And Jesus said there, and I will lay down my life for the sheep, referring to the time that He will give His own life on the cross for all people. Verse 16. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, Him also must I bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Who are those that are not in the fold yet at this time of this writing? The Gentiles. So what he's referring to here when he says there are other sheep, he's talking about the Gentiles. Now where he says that he must bring them into his fold, Jesus, the gospel didn't go out to the Gentiles until after Christ was ascended back into heaven and they scattered. Okay. So Jesus wasn't used his disciples to pass on the word to the Gentiles. So he used his disciples to go out to the Gentiles and bring them into the fold. And we can praise the Lord for doing that, because if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't be here tonight. And when they bring them in to the fold, it says there is going to be one fold and one shepherd, Jesus Christ. So we are in the same fold. We are in the same fold as the Jews, God's chosen people. We are in the same sheepfold as they are. And verse 16. Oh, I was just done that. Excuse me. 17. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life that I might take it up again. Jesus was claiming that his Father loves him. And because of his Father's love, Jesus is willing to lay down his life. And when he lays it down, he can also take it up again. And that be the resurrection after the third day. Verse 18. No man taketh it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have the power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. This commandment have I received of my Father. When God made the world, he knew And sometime in the future of that world, there was going to need to be a Savior to say, come down to turn men's life around and save them from their sins. That person was Jesus. He said no man had to take his life because he laid it down willingly. He gave it up willingly. The Bible in Matthew chapter 4, where Jesus is tempted by the devil, he said that the devil told him that God gave angel control, that if he falls, he will not be hurt. Jesus could have called 10,000 angels down and took him off that cross. But that wasn't the plan, or it wasn't the Father's plan for him. So he laid it down willingly. And because he laid it down willingly, he was also able to take it back up again. And he's done that on the third day. It says, this commandment have I received of my Father. This was God's plan from the beginning. Now, verse 19 through 21, they go pretty well hand in hand. There was a division, therefore, among the Jews of this thing. Because of what Jesus has said, there is a division among them. Now, this is not the first time there's been a division among the Jews because of what Jesus was preaching. There's teaching there. There's also in another chapter over here, I don't remember which one it was, but at the end of that, there was a division too. And many of them said, he has a devil and is mad, why hear ye him? Many of them said that he had a devil and was mad because of his teaching. Later on in the book of John, they'll repeat that saying again. And they said he was mad and had the devil in him, they asked him, said, why are you listening to him? Why are you even hearing what he's saying? Why are y'all paying attention to this? Why are y'all rebelling? And then in verse 21, others said, these are not the words of him that has the devil. The words that Jesus spoke here couldn't be spoken by anybody else except the saved person. Couldn't have been that anyone spoke. It spoke about his Father other than Jesus. And then they're going to say, can a devil open the eyes of a blind man? Others believed who he was, but they was also impressed by the miracle that he performed at the beginning of this chapter 9. Blind man. It was received his eyesight for following Jesus' command. And I'll stop there. Brother George.
Thank you, Brother Lewis. We're the sheep, he's the shepherd. And he's a good shepherd. I will pray these words will encourage you and help you and strengthen you in your Christian walk and whatever you may be going through in your life. And we all have issues, no perfect lives. If the Lord guides us, walks us through it, leads us, helps us, who it is. And he doesn't make any mistakes. Trust him, follow